So, Allie, let's take a look at the some of the things that we've discussed in relationship to how to use this sequence of instruments.
Yeah, definitely. So let's take a look at a block demonstration of using the protocol on a block and see how it works out. But just to let you know clinically, if I look at an anterior premolar and I kind of expect it to be basic, my basic setup on all cases now are the following. I have a size 10 and a 15 hand file and the expediter on my sponge. And that's how I started. And from there, the expediter will screen it and tell me what's going on, what I should use. You may also add an orifice opener as a part of the axis preparation in there too. But as far as instrumentation is concerned, this would be after I have, remember what we defined axis as axis to the coronal 1/2 of the root. And then I would be having these files in there, and from there I would basically evolve to use a finishing file, which most of the time for me ends up being a size 35. Again, in some of the tougher cases it may be a 25, but 35 ends up being the average for my practice composition. Again, let's remember that. If you're doing mostly anteriors, it may end up being 35, 45, and 55. Right. So it's a different story for different people. But that's basically how we get started. And let's take a look at now how we do this on a block. You basically instrument to a size 10 and then it's a size 15 hand file. Once you have a size 15 hand file down to the apex, then you would be using your expediter. And now the way you would use the expediter is, again, as I mentioned, with the SSC, which is a single stroke and clean. You can see that I very minimally get this engaged, and then I take it out of there, and then my endo swipe will wipe and remove the debris. You can see that the debris is filling the chip space. There's really no need to stay in the canal any longer than that. And if you do, then you end up torquing the file unnecessarily. So this is by the 4th stroke, and here by the 5th stroke, we have achieved the working length. And based on our little, technique card here, since we did about 5 stroke or so, I'm going to fit in a size 35 as my finishing file. Again, as you can see here, the 35 is basically fitting at about 4 millimeters from the full working length. So if that's the case, then now I'm just checking to see where the 35 is going. It's 4 millimeters, so my job is to get it down to 4 millimeters, but it's not in one stroke. I got to do it again implementing the SSC. And each SSC seems to take me a 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter. It's a question of how long I'm in the canal and what does it mean to go to engagement versus to resistance. So here I am at the 4th stroke, and it takes, in this case, it takes about 5 strokes or so to get all the way down. It varies depending on your canal and what you're dealing with. But, if it's taking you more than 4 or 5 strokes, that's time. You always have to constantly make sure that you can bring back the expediter and confirm that you have the canals patent. You can see after I took the 35, it very quickly matches with a size 35 ESX or endosequence by ceramic coated gutta-percha cone. And here we're just demonstrating the obturation technique here as well, in which this is the advanced technique in which we deposit and inject a little bit of the sealer into the canal and then push it down with a file. And once it's pushed down adequately, then we cement the cone in place, and the bioceramic is chemically bonding to the canal walls as well as to the surface of this bioceramic coated gutta-percha, and you get a through-and-through adhesive endodonic bond. And all you need to do at this point is sear off the gutta-percha at the orifice level without any serious condensation, and you'll be all done. And that's the beauty of the system, is its efficiency and how it allows you to achieve what you're trying to achieve in a very predictable and efficient way.
2 things strike me when I was watching that. The first is the amount of debris on each of those instruments. How much just one single stroke, and then you had all the debris.
Yeah,
I mean, it was amazing. The other thing is the fact that there were you use the same SSC motion with every rotary instrument.
Every rotary file, absolutely. That's a key thing because it reduces the load. Also, one thing that I didn't mention and you observed with that removal of the debris thing is that if you noticed, I didn't, for the purpose of demonstration, I didn't really irrigate between each file. Now, clinically, you would be irrigating between each file, or every 2 or 3 files. Basically, every 2 or 3, I would probably say after every 2 or 3 motion, it's a good idea to use your ultrasonic and water just to remove the debris or irrigate, whichever way you prefer. I think ultrasonic and water is the fastest way to remove the debris. You can do your disinfection at the very end. But either way, the key here is that up until now, we've had to irrigate a lot because by going this back and forth inside the canal and releasing all the debris that we've cut,
You tried to get the debris out.
we have to get the debris out. This way, by just getting engaged and removing it, the file is your irrigation protocol, basically, of removing the debris. And so, of course, you still have to irrigate. I'm not, again, every
Yeah,
time you
of
say
course.
something, people misinterpret it.
Yeah.
You have to irrigate after every, ideally, every single stroke, but that's not practical. It's actually, frankly, not needed either.
Yeah.
I think after 3 strokes, you would be in good shape to irrigate at that point, because if you do it properly, you haven't really released the debris that you've cut. The debris you cut is in the flutes of the file and is out of the canal in your endoswipe and not in the canal where it doesn't belong. All right, so we've talked about the basic protocol. I hope that was kind of clear at this point. Let's come back and also briefly talk about the advanced protocol that is used for cases in which the number 15 hand file doesn't go down to the apex easily.
Okay.